Hey Liam, how you doing?
Yeah, very well, my man. Very well. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. So we just wanted to put this video webinar together. I know it's over lunchtime, so in case anyone on their lunch wanted to come to watch it live, and then maybe ask a couple of questions in the comments, then they can do so. Um,
Yeah.
we're recording, we're live. If it populates, it populates. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But the conversation will still flow, Liam. So first and foremost, we go back a couple of years now.
Yeah.
I think we're introduced to one another via Jamie. So Jamie Green, she was working with you as a nutritionist, obviously me as a coach, and then we went on a fateful tour to the CrossFit Games, and sort of
We
everything
did.
stemmed from there, really.
Yeah, it did, mate. Sharing the room in Madison. It was good fun.
Yeah, we won't talk about sharing the room in Spain.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. That was the first one, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so Liam, talk a little bit more about yourself. I mean, how have you become, one of, the go-to nutritionists within CrossFit?
Well, yeah, thank you, mate. So my background is originally in sports therapy. So I trained at university and went straight into Premier League football. Really, really lucky. Got a chance to work at Fulham Football Club and was there for a number of years. During that time, I did my master's in exercise and nutrition science. So that's when I started to kind of get into the nutrition side of things a little bit more. Really, really lucky to then, as I was doing my master's, the guy that was running the program left, the strength and conditioning guy, and my boss put me in charge to run the nutrition program there. So pretty much thrown in at the deep end to run a Premier League football club, but had to learn quickly, learn on the job. And it was actually at Fulham I started to do CrossFit. So I don't know when that was, maybe 2011, 2012. One of the guys was doing it. So then started to do CrossFit, and then went when I was at Fulham, I was working for Republic of Ireland, did a bit of nutrition stuff for them, and then went to Tottenham Hotspur and spent 3 years at Tottenham Hotspur. And this is when I started to kind of do a little bit more in the CrossFit side of things, like in the evenings, at weekends, and opened like my first clinic in a box for CrossFit Bold. And really, I've just rode the CrossFit wave a little bit, mate. I absolutely love doing it. So it was just a natural progression for me when people started to kind of take nutrition a little bit more seriously, and CrossFit become a little bit more, mainstream, effectively. So people were doing it more and wanting to get better. So, nutrition was an aspect that people started to put a little bit more importance on. So yeah, that's when I kind of made the big decision to leave Spurs and set up PH Nutrition, and that was 3 years ago now. Yeah, almost 3 years. 3 years ago, and yeah, haven't really looked back. So and this is where we are now. And we're very, very lucky to work with say Jamie and a few of the other superb athletes that are around, and luckily that I get to meet people like you.
I don't know if it's a negative, to be honest with you. Okay, wicked. So you started, really diving into the CrossFit industry, or the sector within nutrition 3 years ago. What kind of things were you noticing at the time?
At that time, it was a lot of people didn't really know how to kind of eat for this type of exercise. I mean, there's a lot of research done on, how to eat to gain, all of the research in like strength and conditioning research would be like how to eat to gain muscle, how to eat to gain, to lose weight, how to, eat to play rugby, to play football, to do athletics. But there was very little research and kind of, experience and knowledge around eating for this high intensity, like mixed modal kind of like form of exercise. So it was a little bit of like, well, we were kind of, trial and error effectively, like, maybe 5 years ago. So, doing the stuff that you would normally do if you're going to go and do 5x5 bench and some bent over rows didn't really transfer into, doing, thrusters and double unders. Same as endurance nutrition. There wasn't really a crossover. So we had to kind of learn on the job a little bit and kind of figure out some stuff. So a lot of people were a little bit lost in terms of like what to do, like especially as well.
Zone, calories, RP. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so like people were a little bit lost. Like, how many calories do I eat if I'm doing a thruster, burpee, chest to bar workout at 6 a.m. in the morning? Like, what do I do? Or if I'm trying to do weightlifting at 5:30 in the morning, like, compared to 8 o'clock at night, there was a lot of confusion, and I think that there's been massive strides forward in the last 3 years. But when I first started, like, we were possibly one of the only companies that really kind of focused in on this, CrossFit specific, and I didn't have all the answers, and there's a lot of trial and error. From my personal experience as well, I would try things out and, with our clients. But I think nowadays people are starting to understand that, there are certain principles for CrossFit, especially from a nutrition point of view, that we do need to follow.
Can you go into those in a little bit more detail in terms of, what your findings have been in terms of the specificity in regards to nutrition within the remit of functional fitness CrossFit style training?
Yeah. When CrossFit first come out, the paleo diet, zone diet, these are all advocated in terms of the way to eat. Like, and look, these are really fantastic, methods of eating, but they all work on principles, and the principles for CrossFit they don't really change in terms of, if you're wanting to be healthier and you're wanting to, change your body composition. But if you're trying to perform at your best, then we do need carbohydrates. And I think people, when they first started CrossFit, were maybe a little bit apprehensive about maybe adding some carbohydrates in, or the amount of carbohydrates that we actually need. And now I think there has been a shift. And, I always say to people, like, look, you don't need carbohydrates to perform well, or to perform in CrossFit. But if you want to really maximize your performance, then yes, you need carbohydrates. Just need them in the right amounts at the right times. So this glycolytic kind of like, demand that we're placing on the body, like, you cannot perform optimally using a low carbohydrate diet. So you can get through it 100%, but you need carbohydrates in your diet to be able to do it, because it's just the demands that we're placing on our body.
Are you a carbohydrate snob?
Sorry?
Are you a carbohydrate snob, i.e., do you prefer one source of carbohydrate over another, or how it digests better, or anything like that?
Not so much that. I think for the general population, yeah, you want to be kind of moving away from, like the more what we would call like performance or competition kind of carbohydrates. I'm not a snob, no, like 100%, but you need to be thinking about, but there's a trade-off between quality and quantity. Like, as you start to increase the demand for the amount of carbohydrates that you need, it becomes very, very difficult to get it from potatoes or sweet potatoes and veg. So you do need to then maybe think, like, I am going to go down the more sugar route, or, the less quote unquote clean foods. So no, I'm not a snob. It's just going to be dependent on what your goal is. So as we go into more elite level, or people that are training upwards of 9, 10, 15 hours a week, like, again, it becomes super difficult to get it from quinoa and sweet potato. So you do need to be then thinking about, like, what can we use to basically fuel for the work required. Like, if you're just doing a single class a day, and out of that class it might be a 12-minute AMRAP and a little bit of skill work beforehand, you need to fuel for the amount of work that you're going to be doing. Like, so you don't need to be then shoving in 400 grams of carbs a day. But if you're training three times a day, then yeah, you probably need to be eating a little bit more. Okay,
like, so in regards to an individual, how do you classify single class open participant, to elite? Do you have like a criteria other than training volume on how you would regard that individual?
In terms of how to set their diet up, or advice?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's not so much to do with volume. I think it's like, because we have a lot of people that would train 6 times a week. I think a lot of it is to do when we profile people is the massive to do with like skill level or their like training age. So if you just base things on like, oh, I train 6 times a week or I go to CrossFit class 6 times a week, you know, you could be, oh, that's quite a lot. But actually their skill level isn't allowing them to, you know, get to, you know, depleting their energy levels because they're just blocked by their skill level. So for example, if they can't snatch, you know, more than the bar, or their mobility doesn't allow them, or they can't do, you know, pull-ups or anything like that, if that workout comes in, like they could be turning up 6 days a week, and yes, they're scaling it and, you know, doing whatever, but if they're not expending that amount of energy because their skill level is their limiting factor. So we won't so much look at volume, we would look at skill level and then where you place it. And it comes down to the open as well, if you're doing it scaled or RX. But that is a big thing I think a lot of people miss, like especially when they're trying to change their body composition or a kind of, you know, work towards a specific goal. They need to be aware that sometimes CrossFit, because it's very high skill at times, it's maybe not going to allow them to reach their goal because they could be, you know, like their skill level of snatch or double unders or whatever, you know, is preventing them from burning energy or burning body fat or creating a demand to get stronger. Whereas if they went to the gym and did some lower skill work, lifts, compound movements, they would burn more calories. They would maybe put more stimulus through their body to create a demand when they, you know, to make a change. Does that kind of make sense? Like,
yeah,
so
it makes perfect sense on, you know, when dealing with people on an individual basis.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've put together a helping hand sort of free crib sheet to tackling the CrossFit Open in regards to nutrition. Have you used a particular avatar for that? And when I talk about an avatar, a particular individual that you have in mind, or is there some complexity which you can add depending on the level that the athlete's going to be?
Yeah, no, the free guide is aimed at the general member, the general CrossFit member who may be doing it for the first time or has done it, you know, 2 or 3 times and just wants to get a little bit better. It's not something that is going to be like super detailed. It's about giving you kind of actionable, practical advice. It's, you know, we break it down depending on like how to kind of lead into the workout. So like what to be doing, how to structure your week, you know, advice on when you're doing it in the morning, when you're doing it in the evening, lunchtime. So the avatar is just the person we were writing to was just that general member. And the more advanced that you get, so if you're getting up towards like, you know, like a real competitive athlete, sanctionals athlete, or even a games athlete, then this guide is going to be something that we do mention it, but it's probably not going to be something for you because, to be honest, if you're at that level, you should have things nailed down. Like you should have historical data that you know that you know you've got things kind of, you know, in a set system. So that should just be boxed off, and you should know that. Plus, we'd also then need to get a little bit more detailed, you know, looking at kind of small changes, marginal gains, rather than the kind of doing the basics really, really well. And that's what this guide kind of, you know, just encourages people to do.
So looking at this guide then, I'm assuming everything's fairly reverse engineered, i.e. you're going to do the Open on either a Friday night or a Saturday morning or a Monday afternoon. Do you reverse engineer it from that? So, I mean, just give us a little bit of an overall sort of feeling how that all pans out, you know, so we can map it in our heads.
Yeah, definitely. Like reverse engineering is exactly how you want to do things. I think there's been maybe a little bit of confusion in the past about, you know, a term like carbohydrate loading, or, you know, like the night before eating, you know, a massive meal, you know, and making sure that you are fueled for that workout. And what we want to be doing is exactly that, like working back. And one of the key principles that we encourage people to do is to be thinking about the whole week rather than just the morning of, or like the 2 hours before your workout or the night before. So you want to be thinking about drip feeding, you know, your energy levels, your carbohydrates, you know, increasing your intake from, so say if you're doing it on Friday night or Friday day, You want to be thinking about maybe that Wednesday after your last kind of heavier session or more intense session, maybe start to be thinking about increasing your intake. Then on that Thursday, you shouldn't be doing a massive session on that Thursday. It might be light movement, it might be skill work. So if you increase your intake just very, very slightly over the whole day, you're naturally carb loading because your output is a little bit less. So you don't need to be thinking, oh, I'm just going to eat a massive bowl of pasta or rice in the evenings. If you distribute that calories over the day, like, you're going to feel better fueled. And then when you get up on the Friday morning, or you're going into the Friday, it's more topping up the tank as opposed to fueling. So the Friday should just be a top up. You shouldn't be needing to chase your nutrition on this day. So we reverse engineer it back to be kind of thinking about 36 hours before is when you want to just slightly increase your intake. So there doesn't need to be this massive intake and then you're coming down and restricting during the rest of the week. You just want a kind of slight increase. So that's how a real key principle that we want, everybody to be focusing on. That doesn't matter what level you're at. You don't need to be kind of like adding in tons of extra food, because again, if your skill level dictates that your workout is only going to be 4 minutes long because you can't snatch 65 kilos, like that's, then do you really need to be carbo loading for 4 minutes of work? Like, it's just another workout. So, it is kind of playing around with a few things like that.
So with the increase or the slight increase of calories, is that total calories or is it just carbohydrate calories? And either way, how do you recommend people do that?
We do recommend just a bump in mainly carbohydrates. So this is, again, it comes down to personal preference. But in our experience and advice that we want people to be following, is just a slight bump in carbohydrates. And this can be, anywhere depending on your body size and the amount of training that you're doing. It could be as small as like 200 calories. So, you're looking at kind of 40, 50 grams of carbs distributed over that day. And that isn't that much.
I couldn't get away with eating a loaf of bread.
Well, depending on how much you're doing, like you're going to get to the end of the workout and complete it. So, yeah. But again, like if you distributed that loaf over the day, you're probably going to digest it and utilize it better than if you ate a whole loaf of bread in the evening. So the principle still applies. But I would be focusing on carbohydrates primarily, and then maybe bumping up overall calories from protein and fats as well. There was a question before that as well.
You just answered both of them. Like, is it mainly carbohydrates? And then you've answered it. The next question would be then is, what would you sort of recommend maybe immediately before, or is there anything, or what happens afterwards? Like, I mean, obviously we don't know, or you can sort of see what the workouts are going to be when they're announced. But I mean, in terms of post-workout nutrition, is there anything major, or just get back into the normal rhythm?
Yeah, I definitely get back into your normal rhythm. With pre-workout nutrition, I've actually done a couple of videos on this, and I think another principle that we really focus on is the open workout is about performance. Like, it isn't a time to be using it to kind of like change body composition or work on skills or anything like this. For me, it's just about performing well. So to perform well, you've got to go into that session, into that workout, feeling good, being fueled. Like, people often get hung up on post-workout nutrition being very, very important. And it is. It becomes more important if there's no pre-workout nutrition. So, for example, if you're training at 6 a.m. or 6:30 or whatever, and you don't eat beforehand, then post-workout nutrition to improve your recovery becomes more important. If you're in a fed state and you're doing it at 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 6 p.m., then post-workout nutrition is important, but it's not vital because you're in a fed state. So it also then depends on what you're going to be doing. So pre and post-workout nutrition is all dependent on what have you done and what are you going to do. So, for example, if you're going to be, so say, let's use you an example, Andy, you're going to do it at, 9 a.m. on Friday morning, and then you're going to repeat it on Monday. So for you, you probably need to be focusing on post-workout nutrition because you have a shorter window to refuel, ready to go again to repeat that workout. Whereas if the general member is doing it on a Friday morning or Friday night, and they're taking Saturday off, and then they're doing a little bit of light work on Sunday, and then back into normal training Monday, do they really need to be focusing on post-workout nutrition and putting a load of carbohydrates in to refuel? Probably not, because you're going to have about 8 to 10 feeds before your next intense training session. So the importance of post-workout nutrition can sometimes be a little bit overemphasized. For me, the pre-workout nutrition of the open is a little bit more important.
Oh, sorry, I just had to mute it because I was picking up. I'm in a working gym, and so there is going to be a little bit of background noise. So what I'm going to do, Liam, is that I'll ask you a question, I'll mute my mic, and then it won't interrupt you and put my ugly mug in front of it. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much for that. So have you ever run anything like this before in terms of the Open, like, you know, with PH Nutrition? Have you done it in-house before, and obviously you just want to spread the love with the results?
Yes, this is the first time that we've given the guide away before, like a watered down version last year. We've improved it this year, a little bit more detail, and then we've developed a specific program for the Open. And you know, this is the first time that we're going to be doing it, but it's taken all of our knowledge and experience and kind of like packaging it into, you know, week by week, drip fed modules, you know, working on principles to basically allow people to get the most out of it, because I think people can get a little bit stressed and a little bit more pressure around the Open. And, you know, it is just another workout. Absolutely. Like, you'd have done open workouts before and you're going to be doing more. But what we want to do is just make sure that, look, it's once a year, it's 5 workouts. Like, if you can get the most out of it, then why not? Like, it's, you know, it's a time that we want to push ourselves. And what we've done with this program is just simplify things and giving people a clear structure, you know, support over the 5 weeks, you know, kind of feedback on how they perform and what we should be doing depending on the workouts, you know, timing of training, you know, in meal structure, and giving people just a kind of clear pathway to follow. So how much they should be eating, when should be eating, you know, so it's something that they can use long term, and it's not just around the Open. But yeah, hopefully we're going to have some great success and help people to really get the most out of the 5 weeks.
So, out of interest, what have you decided to do, or what have you and Jamie decided to do in regards to her approach to the Open?
So, as you know, like, Jay is, she's very, very consistent when, you know, there's like competition times and, you know, going into the Open. So because we've been working together for 2.5, 3 years now, maybe, you know, around that time, her structure is nailed down. Like, she knows like what to eat before, you know, competition. She knows what to eat before intense workouts. She knows what to eat if she's going to be doing a double session. Like, you know, our kind of like setup now is consistency. It's not kind of changing too much. Like, for me now, it's just about her maybe kind of just being a little bit more dialed in terms of, like, you know, consistently eating the right things at the right times. You know, for her, like, it's more about consistently eating her meals and not kind of like maybe missing meals or kind of putting things towards the end of the day. So a real, you know, focus point, as always, leading into competitions is kind of distribution of food over the day. But she knows, like, we know the structure now. We know what breakfast works. We know what, you know, pre-workouts. We know, you know, what works in terms of getting the most out of, you know, individual workouts. So you know, nothing's really changed. It's just more about, you know, being consistent. So we do put in, you know, some periodized supplementation to kind of help her recover, to help immune function, because, you know, I think it's sometimes an area that's overlooked with people. And there's a few other little bits and pieces that we've done that we'll keep a little bit secret as well. But yeah, it's just it really is about consistency.
Secret's dark chocolate. I've seen it. And
Yeah,
sweets.
yeah, a few sweets every now and then, but
I wish I could have abs like that if I ate that many jellies. Okay, so the plan's out there. It's on your website, phnutrition.co.uk or .com.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Cody.
so people can go there, download that for free. I also noticed that there is a like a paid for version as well. What's the difference between the two?
Yeah, and that was the kind of coaching program that I just kind of touched on previously, and this is something that we're just running this year for the first time, and it's taking all of our knowledge and experience and putting it into, like I say, like a package thing. So there's like 7 different kind of modules where we talk about what to do before the Open, the week leading into it, the weekends after. You know, we talk about recovery advice. We provide you with like all of the kind of resources that you're going to need over the 5 weeks. We give you a template that we use with a lot of our coaching clients to give you your calories, macros, meal breakdowns, and there's a little tracker in there to kind of, you know, help you provide some feedback. But it's then about support over the 5 weeks. So we provide weekly Q&As, we provide feedback on, you know, how you're performing, and advice and kind of feedback from other athletes that we have. And hopefully hopefully you can use it to get the most out of these 5 weeks, but then build something that's a little bit more sustainable. So it is just kind of like a little bit more of a coaching package, and a little bit more of an educational resource, rather than just like a PDF.
Roger. So again, it's that practical coaching element. Okay, cool. So plenty of information there. Now, so we can bullet this and maybe put it on a 60-second video for Instagram, because you've got to do everything on the gram now. What 3 things do you want people to focus on nutritionally in the Open?
Principle 1 is to don't chase your nutrition on game day. Like, think about fueling the tank 36 to 24 hours before. So then you're using that day, on the day of the workout, it's just simply a top up. You know, don't be chasing it on the day of the Open workout. Another thing is, like, look, only eat something that you've done before. Like, why would you, just because it's the Open workout doesn't mean that you need to get all crazy and start changing things. Like, do the stuff that you have eaten before. If it's working for you, then keep it. Like, one of the biggest points is people ask me is like, should I do the Open workout fasted? And I'm like, well, do you train fasted normally? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, keep it going. Like, if you're performing well and you train fasted every day, like, then cool. I would say just train fasted. But it might be an opportunity for you to trial eating a small snack or something else away from it, or away from the workout, you know, in one of your training sessions. But just keep doing what you're doing. Don't be changing loads of different things, you know, on the day of the workout. It's just another workout, and you've done one before. And the third one is, I know it sounds a bit stupid, but like, enjoy it. Like, there is pressure. But you know, you need to be thinking about, okay, it's just one workout of my whole week. So your nutrition strategies need to be still focusing on getting the most out of your training session on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Sunday, you know. So the Open workout is, you know, it's a very small part of your whole week. So don't kind of like use this 5 weeks and make like halt your progress from the rest of your training just to focus on the Open workout. So set up your nutrition for the whole week and structure it well, just so you're fueling yourself for the Open workout, but don't get hung up on it.
Another question just come to my head. Do you have a preferred time, not you yourself, but a preferred time you would actually want people to perform the Open workout, due to nutritional intake, due to, like, I don't know, some metabolic processes, etc.?
I mean, in the evenings, like, there is research out there that, you know, that your power output's a little bit higher in the evenings, like, just due to like being in a fed state, you know, hormonal changes through the day. So if you can, yeah, possibly prioritizing to do it in the evening. But again, there's massive caveats and negatives and benefits to doing it. Like, in the evenings, like, you can be sitting down all day and not really moving too much because of work. Then there's, you know, the nervousness of watching everybody else do it in the day. So for me, I would just be like, Ideally, I like to do it personally. I like to do it around 9 a.m. Get up, eat some food, warm up, and then hit the workout, and then I'm done. But if you're really, really going to try and do it, then I'd possibly say like early evening would be a better time to do it. But look, just do it when you can. Like do it when you don't change that just because I said do it in the evening. If you've trained at 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. for the last 2 years, do it at 6 a.m. because your body's accustomed to it.
Awesome. Okay, so I've always wanted to ask a nutritionist, what is your favorite meal and what is your favorite food or nutrition guilty pleasure?
Oof. Do you know what? My missus will be like, I knew you'd say this. Mate, I love potatoes. Like, I love mash. So, like, probably bangers and mash and load the gravy would be like, would be something that I would just be like that for me is just like heaven. Like, especially when it's starting to get a bit colder. So yeah, I love that kind of things like meatballs, mashed potato, or bangers and mash, or whatever it is. For me, that's a game changer. And yeah, guilty pleasure. I don't know, man. I do love anything like pancakes, or like kind of like big stack of pancakes or something like that. I can't really say no to them when I'm out for brunch. Like the eggs and avo just gets to the side and give me the
pancakes, syrup, and then plenty of champagne on those brunches, I'd imagine.
Yeah, bottomless brunches. Yeah, maybe gets locked into a few of them.
Awesome, Liam. Well, thank you very much. We'll get this out and recorded. Yeah, is there anything finally you want to sign off with?
No, I think I'm good. I'm just like, yeah, absolutely great to speak to you, and the work that you've done with Jay and the rest of the athletes is amazing, mate. So absolute pleasure for me to be working alongside you and you guys, and yeah, just looking forward to I'm looking forward to having the Open in October, because normally it's like freezing cold. Everyone's a little bit sluggish after Christmas. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to having this.
It's already freezing cold here in South Wales.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe down there. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Mate, really the best way to do it is via Instagram, ph_nutrition, or just pop over to the website. You can contact us through there. It just gives you a real good overview of everything that we do. We try to put up a lot more content on the blog recently, and I'm doing a lot more videoing on YouTube and stuff. So, just go over to the website, and that would be the best way. But honestly, please, if you've got any further questions, just reach out to me via Instagram, via Facebook. Just find me something, and I promise I'll get back to everyone.
Awesome, Liam. Thank you very much. We will probably do something similar post-Open, just to sort of have an understanding of where people can go in terms of their training and what sort of nutrition protocols. But yeah, great. I'll catch you soon. And yeah, thank you all for joining.
Good man.
Bye-bye.